All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've gone through a huge stack of your industry sources, articles, reports, some private notes to really pull out the critical nuggets you need to know about what's happening in hospitality right now.
Yeah, and the sources this time are, they're pointing to some really high-stakes shifts.
Yeah.
We're seeing everything from these massive billion-dollar investments down to the really specific demands of today's guest.
And when you say specific, you're not kidding. We're talking wellness, design,
Yeah,
and surprisingly, pets.
exactly. So our mission here is to connect those dots, to find the pivots the industry is making, and look at how technology is really powering all of it.
Okay, so here's how we've broken it down for you. First, we're following the money, and a lot of it is flowing into Australia and Asia. Second, we're going to define what this new luxury actually looks like. And finally, we'll get into the tech that makes it all possible, which leads to some pretty tricky ethical questions. So let's start with the first pillar: design, heritage, and just pure physical investment. We're seeing this new wave of design-led openings, and they're really changing the game. It's this whole approach where the hotel itself becomes the main attraction.
It does, and a perfect example in the sources is Melbourne's Hannah Saint Hotel. It's a, what, $150 million boutique project.
Right, from TFE Hotels, and they partnered with Flax Studio, which is a huge name.
And what's so smart about it is the location and the amenities. It's right next to Melbourne's $1.7 billion arts precinct. They want to be part of that cultural fabric.
But it's more than just a good location, right? The amenities are where it gets interesting.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a beautiful pool is nice, but this place has dedicated co-working facilities and, get this, professional podcast spaces.
Podcast spaces. Okay, so why is that so important? Is it just a gimmick?
No, not at all. It's an economic driver. It's an amenity that speaks directly to the creative class, to the digital nomad, the traveler who is blending their work and their life.
So you're saying if someone can create high-quality content without leaving the hotel?
You drive a much higher value per guest, they stay longer, they spend more. Plus, they've got 5 new food and beverage venues from the Holberry Group. It becomes a destination for locals too, not just the guests.
And this focus on that hyper-local feel isn't just an Australian thing. It's happening all over the Asia-Pacific region.
Right. You look at Frasers House in Singapore, they're partnering with Marriott's Luxury Collection, and the whole plan is about preserving the building's cultural identity while they modernize.
Heritage-led luxury. That's the term they use.
Exactly. It shows the big global brands get it. Authenticity, that local story, that is the new premium.
And this strategy seems to be maturing really, really fast.
It is. I mean, look at Ascott's Life brand. It's all about community and flexible stays, and it is just crushing it.
Right.
Life Collingwood in Melbourne and Life Bondi Junction in Sydney are tracking above 85% occupancy.
Wow, 85%.
Yeah. And their newest opening, Life on Elizabeth, really drives the point home.
What's the story with that one?
Well, it's a redeveloped heritage YWCA building, the former Young Women's Christian Association. So they're taking this site with a really rich history and just, repurposing it for today's digital nomads. It proves this isn't a fad.
Right. It's a structural shift in demand.
And while that boutique heritage stuff gets all the headlines, you've also got the big players making huge regional commitments.
Like Wyndham in Malaysia.
Exactly. They've just added several major properties and have 3 new signings in the works. We're talking about massive scale here. They have 19 hotels and over 5,000 rooms in Malaysia alone.
So that shows a huge belief in the stability of that middle market traveler.
It's the backbone. It complements all that luxury growth we're seeing.
Okay, that scale, that commitment. It brings us right to the big money. Let's talk about capital.
And there's no bigger story in our sources than Blackstone's move to acquire Hamilton Island.
The numbers are staggering. It's a reported 1.2 billion Australian dollars.
It's a massive declaration of confidence in Australia's luxury future. I mean, $1 billion bet is hard to ignore.
And it's not just one hotel they're buying, is it?
No, that's the key. It's an entire ecosystem. You're getting 5 hotels, the marina, the airport, the golf course, all the dining and retail. Blackstone is buying a whole destination.
That is a powerful signal to the market. They're betting on the long-term resilience of Australian tourism.
They absolutely are, and they're betting on a very specific type of customer, which, brings us to our next point.
Right. Shifting from the buildings to the people inside them, or should I say the animals? The pet-first revolution.
This is such a fascinating trend. It's not just pet-friendly anymore. The market is aggressively moving to pet-first.
And this isn't just a hunch. The data is pretty wild.
It's staggering. The BRK Air 2026 State of Pet Travel Report. It says that 94% of travelers are willing to forego traditional hotel amenities for properties that genuinely welcome their pets.
Wait, 94%? That's basically everyone.
It's a complete mandate for change. And it reflects that huge societal shift of pets being seen as core family members.
But practically speaking, doesn't that create a huge operational headache? I mean, cleaning, noise, liability?
You would think so. But smart operators are turning it into a premium service, a revenue center. BRK Air is even expanding from aviation into hospitality now.
How does that work?
They're partnering with places like Kona Village or Rosewood Resort, and they're offering luxury pet concierge services. We're talking personalized menus, specialized amenities. It's not just a water bowl and a biscuit anymore.
And people will pay for that.
A huge premium, sometimes hundreds of dollars a night. It completely reframes the conversation from being a cost to being a value add.
Okay, so speaking of performance, let's look at the current market strength that justifies these big bets. Sydney had a record December.
It really did. According to CoStar, occupancy averaged over 81%, which is a solid 3.2% jump year over year.
And New Year's Eve was just off the charts.
That's the real aha moment. The average daily rate, or ADR, it topped 1,000 Australian dollars for the first time ever. Occupancy hit 95.4%.
Wow.
You can just picture the accountant smiling. And a lot of that was driven by huge cultural events. Jimmy Barnes, Lady Gaga. It just proves Sydney is a top-tier events market.
And we're seeing that resilience hold up elsewhere, too, not just on the East Coast.
That's right. Come on, what you call the Treasury in Perth, for example, is still seeing really strong performance, driven by luxury leisure, corporate travel, and that growing wellness segment.
But here's the crucial pivot, right? High occupancy is great, but it's not the whole story anymore.
Not at all. Especially not if you need to justify a billion-dollar price tag. The industry has to move beyond just filling rooms. That's RevPR, revenue per available room.
To this new metric, RevPAG.
Revenue per available guest. Exactly.
So it's about maximizing the total spend from every single person who walks in the door.
Precisely. For markets like Australia and New Zealand, the game is about increasing yield. RevPAG pushes operators to use tech, to use personalization, to lift guest spend on everything else, premium breakfast, spa services, dining.
It's about loyalty and maximizing the total value of that guest.
That's the ball game. And we're seeing the development pipeline strengthening to capture that future growth, too, like Crystalbrook Sam in Adelaide, which is set to open in late 2026.
So if RevPAG is the future, technology is the engine. Let's talk about that. What are the macro trends for 2026?
The sources suggest demand will stay pretty steady with some modest rate growth, but the key is in the strengthening patterns. More AI, more sophisticated automation, hotels positioning themselves as these self-contained destinations to drive that RevPAG, and, of course, the continued demand for wellness and unique experiences.
And the expectation is that lower interest rates will finally give investment a real boost.
Yeah, which brings us full circle back to that Blackstone deal.
So diving into AI, it's easy to see how a big chain can use it, but what about for an independent hotel?
That's where it gets really interesting. For them, AI is all about leverage. It addresses their biggest challenge, high service expectations, with a lean team.
So it's not about replacing the human touch.
Not at all. It's about preserving it. AI automates the tedious stuff, the admin work, so the human staff can focus entirely on high-value guest interactions. That's the main differentiator for an independent property. Without it, they risk getting left behind.
But this all leads to the most challenging question in the sources, the ethics of it all. We're talking service robots, AI learning our behavior.
It's a huge issue. The more we integrate robots into guest-facing roles, the more we have to confront these really difficult legal and ethical questions.
Right. It's not just about a robot dropping off towels. It's about data, privacy, accountability.
Exactly. Who's liable when a predictive AI makes a mistake? Or if a service robot causes damage or an injury? The researchers are basically sounding the alarm. They're saying companies have to establish clear frameworks for this human-robot collaboration now, before the technology gets too far ahead of our ability to govern it.
A really critical point. Okay, before we wrap up, we should acknowledge the people who are actually leading these big shifts. Let's do a quick rundown of key executive moves, our stars in motion. Kicking things off, we've got Charles Fisher as the new GM at Four Seasons Hotel Hong Kong, and Robin Mack is now the Managing Director of the Tourism Australia Board.
And then that Robin Mack appointment is so critical. The MD at Tourism Australia has a huge job right now, positioning the country globally to justify those billion-dollar investments we were just talking about.
Absolutely. The people driving the strategy are everything. Also on the move, Amanda Cottam is head of operations for the Pacific at TFE Hotels. Giorgio Romain is hotel manager at 4 Points by Sheraton Brisbane.
A lot of movement.
Yeah. Jeremy Samuels is the new GM at Sofitel Adelaide. Sukhjeev Kochar is now operations manager at Intercontinental Sydney Double Bay. Danny Lowe is GM at 4 Points in Perth. Brittany Herdier is director of sales at Sheraton Grand Sydney Hyde Park. And Luke Dayton is the new GM at View Brisbane.
A busy time for the executive suites in the Pacific.
Definitely. So to recap the essentials for you, the big one is that shift from RevPAR to RevPAG. It's all about maximizing total value per guest now. We saw those huge billion-dollar investments like Blackstone's that are reinforcing confidence in Australia's future.
And we saw those hyper-specific design trends like podcast studios and the really powerful rise of the pet-first guest.
That 94% number is just, it's hard to forget.
My final thought is just how interconnected all these trends are. The future is about highly personalized, tech-enabled experiences. Whether you're personalizing for a human, a pet, or using an AI to manage it all behind the scenes, it's all about getting very, very specific to maximize your yield.
And that leaves us with our final provocative thought for you to think about. If 94% of travelers are willing to forego traditional amenities for a pet-first experience, prioritizing an animal's comfort, how long before we see hotels advertising they've strategically replaced most human staff with an all-robot experience to solve labor costs? And, more importantly, what percentage of guests would find that trade-off acceptable? Something to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep.